15, 20 minutes into the show, we can
Yeah,
you
so
can sort of.
hold that thought because we are live on Genesis Office Hours, episode number 25, live with Brian Gardner. Hey Brian, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Carrie?
Sorry, I dropped a little surprise bomb on you there. Um, Want to welcome everybody that is tuning in, whether you're watching us over on the YouTube channel, on Google Plus, or over on CarrieDeals.com. You are welcome. You can ask your questions of Brian and myself today using the hashtag GOHChat on Twitter. Before we get rolling, I want to give out a super thanks to our show sponsor today, who's WPSiteCare.com. That's Ryan Sullivan and his posse, and they provide, among other services, they're most well known for their monthly WordPress maintenance services and their excellent customer service. And we've got a special deal for GOH listeners, which I'll talk about later in the show. But for now, Brian, let's get to it. What's going on over there?
Not much. Just doing cool stuff like putting away my Starbucks pods and, all the good stuff that we do here at home when we work.
Awesome. I've got to just say, and forgive me if I'm crossing a boundary, but you're looking mighty sexy. There's something, it's your outfit. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I don't know. That's a good color on you.
It is. I was scampering. The reason we're a few minutes late here on the show is that I was scampering around trying to find my version of the new Rainmaker shirt that we were blessed with by our company, and I couldn't, so I had to put on the ladies' medium version of the new Rainmaker shirt. So it's nice and tight, and it's it's feeling a bit snug. So I will keep the lower half of my abdomen out of the picture.
Well, you're set for a Saturday night on the town with
yes.
that look.
Yeah. So.
And steer clear of maybe eating a large pizza, as you may not fit your shirt anymore.
Correct.
Cool. Well, let's see. Mike, to answer your question, we are live. In case you didn't know, you can actually download the podcast of Genesis Office Hours after the fact from iTunes. If you do listen from iTunes, I'm going to totally hit you up to give it a nice little rating, because I don't know who reads those, but I do, and I appreciate the good words. So, Brian, you've been teasing us with some things, but we're not going to get to that quite yet. But share what's going on with, all this. For those of you, of course, everybody listening knows Brian probably pretty well from following him on Twitter. But in case you don't know the story, BrianGardner.com went offline for a while, and then we saw this new blog, a multi-author blog called Unfiltered.me. But then all of a sudden, I looked, and BrianGardner.com was back, and not only was it back, but it was like back with full force. So, Brian, can you share a little bit about that metamorphosis and what's going on there?
Yeah, I don't do it on purpose, but I have a tendency to kind of ping pong around ideas in my head with things, and the best way to explain it was, a few months ago I went through a funk. There's two types of funks, first of all. There's the I can't do it all funk, and I went through that a few years ago in Boulder when I melted down at our partner meeting, but got past that and moved on. And recently I kind of went through a I don't want to do it all funk. And so I spent some time kind of internalizing a lot of things and trying to step away from work a little bit and just kind of process life. And when I did that, I started to do that, on BrianGardner.com, realized at the time there was a lot of readership and audience and traffic built around kind of the web that was going there. So there was a lot of unsubscribes, and it didn't fit right. And so I turned one night to Unfiltered.me, looked it up, found it was available, and just launched. At the time, it was just a very simple, let me drop my thoughts here kind of thing. As that progressed and got interest, then I was still in my funk, and so I opened that up to multi-author, And then as I was spending a lot of time kind of curating content and reaching out and kind of embracing that whole kind of authenticity movement, I realized that I still had a job and I still had an obligation to our company. And so as much as I wanted to continue that, I put it on hold and realized, right now is not the right time to spend as much time as I had been in there. And I wanted to just really, be a company man and just put all of my energy into that kind of content and help, build what we're building right now, and to do it with all of my attention. So it felt abrupt probably to a lot of our readers, but it also felt abrupt to me. But it was really necessary, and I snapped out pretty much overnight one day. And when I snapped out of it, I realized, okay, what do I want to do with my energy, with my design stuff and content? And I realized there's such an audience still to teach web design in general, Genesis stuff and things like that. And I kind of missed, helping people do stuff, helping people build websites and learn things about typography and whatnot. And so I decided to relaunch BrianGardner.com with a completely new content strategy built on a completely new platform with a new design. And so here we are.
And so it's actually powered by Rainmaker? Is that when you say a new platform, what's going on?
Yes. So many people who listen to the show may or may not know, but we are building a total marketing solution online platform called New Rainmaker. We have it in pilot program right now. It's available to sign up for. So it's a completely hosted solution with all of our tools. It's built on Genesis. It has a completely redesigned dashboard. And so in part of trying to eat our own dog food and help teach people how to do what I'm doing, it made total sense for me to go on that myself as a user so that I could just kind of help be sort of a beta tester, but also there were things I wanted to do with my website that actually required some of the tools we have built in.
Okay. Well, I'm wondering, I know you love to tinker, to get in the code. With being on your site, being on Rainmaker now, do you feel do you ever feel frustration, like I wish I could do that customization, but that's really outside the scope of Rainmaker, or?
No, because what I've done, because I know how Rainmaker works, I've been able to kind of craft the content strategy and what I want to do within those parameters. And so when I decided I wanted to come up with a new design and a new theme, and I kind of had an idea of the things I wanted to do with it, I contacted Bill Kenny and Charlie and the folks at Focus Lab, and so I said, hey, look, I'm looking to do a design. I want to present it a certain way. I've got some ideas. Can I hire you guys kind of to consult and collaborate with me on my design just so I can get it to a point where I'm not ever going to be unhappy with it? And so I knew if I could set the theme up and the design up to a point where I wouldn't tinker, that would alleviate a lot of the kind of, I wish I could do this and I wish I could do that type of things. And fortunately, Rainmaker allows you to import a custom theme, so I was able to do that. By default, we offer all of our HTML5 Pro themes as part of signing up and being a part of that. But so I'm very, very thrilled with the way the design turned out. I'm loving the content piece, and now the membership piece, which is fairly new.
Yeah, it was. I signed up to get the free content from you, and it was nice to see you in my inbox after all this time. I've always frequented your site for the articles and the code snippets, but it was nice to actually get the email delivery.
Cool.
We have an excellent question from Jackie asking how does Rainmaker fit into the whole Genesis ecosystem? And I'll elaborate that from my point of view. Like there's a certain customer obviously who Rainmaker is a perfect solution for.
Right.
But as a service provider, or someone who helps people customize themes or implement websites, does somebody like me have a role in Rainmaker?
Yes, there is. Part of the reason we built Rainmaker was that it was a simplified dashboard and removed a lot of the distraction that a typical, user, i.e. one of your clients or, clients of an agency or whatever, would even need or want. And so the idea behind Rainmaker is twofold. One, someone comes in and just signs up and needs it for their own purpose, or two, someone like you, a developer, can build a client site on it and then turn it over to them so they're not distracted with all of the things that are back there, and they've got the tools that they need. So there's absolutely a market for developers who are used to Genesis to offer this to their clients if they have the needs that Rainmaker has tools for.
Do you know at this point what that, since it's still in beta, what that rollout will be? If there will be sort of the what's currently the developer pack equivalent for a Rainmaker?
There's no real developer pack equivalent because it is what it is. When you sign up, much like WordPress.com, you can log in and just choose from any of our themes. They're just already in there, or you have the option through our team to import a custom theme, which is what I did. So from that perspective, it's just sign up and use. It's it's a hosted environment, so it's a monthly fee. You get access to all of the tools, the landing page module, the membership stuff, any theme you want to use, you can switch and go as you like. So from that perspective, there's no bulk or unlimited anything. It's a completely different concept and product, or service product than, let's just say, a do-it-yourself StudioPress theme.
Sure. I guess where I was thinking with that question is, let's say I want to offer that to clients as a solution. Is there a relationship directly with Copyblogger in terms of billing and how seamless?
So as it stands now, it's directly between the user and Copyblogger. We're working towards the possibility of what we're calling kind of a reseller type of thing, where you can do it on behalf of the client. How that looks and when that rolls out is yet to be determined. But so in other words, to answer your question, yes, it is perfect for someone like you. Just
all right.
Not quite yet.
We have a really important question, a huge question for you from Ben, and he wants to know that since the last time you appeared on this podcast, it's been, I guess, a couple months ago, have you unpacked any more of your office?
Yes and no. I've moved the boxes that were all over the floor into the closet, so now my office is clean, but the closet still has stuff. So I have not unpacked some of it, and it's now just in my closet. So.
So be careful opening up that door.
Yes.
All right. Last week we did something kind of fun on office hours. I didn't have a guest per se, but I invited all the participants to hop onto the podcast if they wanted to ask their questions live, and instead of typing it into Twitter. They wanted to show their mug to the world. So thinking that while I've got you on today, that might be a really fun opportunity for you to meet some of your fans, and when I say fans, that lovers of the Genesis framework. It may be Brian fans too. I'm sure they are. But is that cool with you? If we
totally
put
cool.
the link out there?
Yep.
All right, GOH chat, I'm about to tweet that link out. Oops, and Brian, I can't tweet and talk at the same time, so I'll let you tell a joke.
Tell a joke. I don't have my kid with me. He's really the joke guy. So in the meantime, maybe what we'll do is we'll talk about the Genesis Simple Share plugin, which has been notoriously talked about throughout the internet, and maybe Carrie was going to wait, but because I couldn't come up with the joke, I'm just going to go ahead and talk about it. Before I get to that, part of the BrianGardner.com redesign and reset was illustrating how Rainmaker works. And so about, a week and a half ago, I kind of opened up what I'm calling the Get Free Content section of the site, and that includes right now a free mobile-first Genesis theme that I've created, which is available for anyone to come download. And the reason there's a registration involved is because it's part of this is what Rainmaker can do. This is how you can set up Rainmaker for your own site. So you can allow someone to sign up and get access, and it adds them also to your list if they confirm. And then they're able to log into the site and get free content. So if you go to BrianGardner.com right now, you'll see in the navigation there's a big white Get Free Content button, and from there you can click on a registration link. And so currently, like I said, there's a free theme, and I am actually going to, as we speak, publish a new blog post. So if you go to the front page of my site, you will see a post called Genesis Simple Share Plugin. And as soon as this has a chance to publish, which is right this very moment.
We get to do a drum roll?
It's too late. It's already out there. You can go ahead and read the post titled Genesis Simple Share Plugin, and you can see what we've been talking about and what I've been kind of leaking on social media. The gist of it is just I'm so tired of hearing people ask me for this thing, so I'm just going to make it available. And that is said tongue-in-cheek, because I love you guys. And so scroll through, read it. You can go through the process of registering, so you see how Rainmaker kind of provides this membership piece. And at this point, you can freely download the Genesis Simple Share plugin. Please read the post in its entirety. There's some notes in there about that it's still in beta, albeit a very mature beta, and so there might be a few quirks here and there. Let me know if you find them. I also want to thank Nick Croft, known as Nick the Geek. There's a link to follow him on Twitter in that post. He's the brainchild behind this and built this, and is a brilliant person and totally knocked it out of the park with this. I use this plugin on my site. We do on Copyblogger and StudioPress as well, and so now it is out in the wild. So
awesome.
That's my joke.
That's a pretty good one. I don't know about the funny factor, but the awesome factor is definitely there. I snuck a copy of that plugin and put it up on the winningagent.com site a while back, and I just love it. It's clean, it's lightweight, I don't want to go hating on Jetpack, because that's actually what I'm currently using on carrydeals.com, but Genesis Simple Share just does one thing, and it does it really nicely and efficiently, and of course I love the minimalist styling of it. So
yeah, and I do want to point out really quickly the real reason we built this was to have it be a tool within Rainmaker. So on my site, it's freely available and built already into the platform, because we wanted to provide something that just was lightweight and script unheavy and so on. And it's a brilliant plugin. Everything works as it should. I've loved it and have begged our team to release this sooner than later. So I'm glad I finally got the green light. So for now, it's made available through my site, kind of as a way to test the volume of registration and the membership piece, see if it busts and so on. So anyway, back to you.
Cool. There you have it. You heard it first here on Genesis Office Hours. It's fun to do big reveals.
Yeah.
And drop suspension. Let's see. I tweeted the link, but either the link doesn't work or folks are they're intimidated by your T-shirt. And
I don't think it's that. So which link doesn't work? Are you saying?
The link to hop on this very podcast. So somebody try.
Okay.
Somebody just click on that link and see if you. There's no secretary standing by to moderate out whether or not your hair looks appropriate. You're just welcome to hop on. So while we're just kind of chilling, we had some more questions come through, and let's see if I can find it. Aaron wanted to know, can anyone upload a custom theme to Rainmaker, or are there restrictions? And I'm assuming the question is once I bought Rainmaker, that's my site, can I upload a custom theme, or so long as it runs for Genesis, or hop on this very podcast? So somebody okay. Oh, Jackie, you've got podcast Inception going on.
There's no secretary standing by to moderate out whether or not your hair looks appropriate.
Okay,
we're on a delay,
muting
too.
you, Jackie.
Yeah, mute her.
All right, I'm muting you all. Unmute you shortly here, but yeah. So what's the deal with the custom theme upload?
So the custom theme upload is just that. For instance, Chris Brogan had a custom theme design that Rafal did for him, and so we knew it was it needed to be an option to be able to upload a custom theme, because not everyone wants to use something out of the box. With that said, it doesn't open up Pandora's box where you can all of a sudden upload plugins and all that, because really what Rainmaker is, it's a very intentionally performance-based system, and the security is of utmost importance to us, and so we just don't allow any just random plugins and things like that. So or code for that matter. So part of the custom theme process is that it's a manual process that our support team will just scan through, take a look, make sure it adheres best practices, and will gladly push it up if it kind of passes the this is okay and isn't going to bog down a site or a server test. So yes, if you know what you're doing, there shouldn't be any problems. If you try to pull any punches, there might be.
And I bet your theme had a hard time getting through. There was probably a lot of malicious code.
It was terrible. I had injections left and right, and they caught it, and so now I'm just running a light version of it.
All right, Jackie, I'm going to let you unmute yourself and say hello, ask a question, say what's on your mind.
Hey, thanks for letting me jump in. I guess I'm the only brave one today so far.
We appreciate your bravery.
Okay, Brian, quick question here. What are the advantages for a mobile-first design? I see that you just did that on briangardner.com, and I'm just curious as to how it, I looked at the CSS, and I can see that, a lot of the mobile-first part is up at the top, and the media query stuff is switched. And can you just go over kind of why that would be a benefit?
So, I didn't realize that there would be a confusion when I wrote the post announcing kind of the release of the mobile-first theme, but I completely understand where the question comes from. A lot of people have asked, what is the difference between a mobile-first design and a responsive design? Are they the same, or is it either or? And so responsive design is obviously just a design and how it responds to the viewing device. The mobile-first piece is more an intellectual philosophy on how you build your responsive design. Typically, what we've done at Studio Press and what is kind of in the industry, without trying to get overly geeky, is that people will design a website for the web and then shrink it down for mobile devices. The mobile-first mentality is basically designing it for mobile and opening it up based on screen size. And for a while there, it took me some time to kind of understand why, or if it even mattered, why a mobile-first, mentality is good, until I started to kind of realize, as I was trying to build it out just for fun, a good example is there are certain instances where you have to define a width up at the top and then undo it down at the bottom. Make everything 100% down at the bottom, because containers, site header, inner, content, sidebar, that kind of thing, you've defined a static, width up at the top, and so you have to redundantly undo that by making it 100% down at the bottom. Well, a mobile-first mentality means you don't have to define it up at the top, because it, by nature of the way CSS works, is it'll just assume 100%, and so just down at the bottom in the media queries, then you can specify the width of your content and sidebar. So you're kind of removing a little bit of code. It's not much, and in the context, of a page load and a style sheet size, it's really insignificant either. You would probably never even notice the difference, but it's just more a mentality of how you build responsive design. And for me, what it did was it helped me kind of be intentional with my content strategy in the way I wanted to lay content out, and the need for a sidebar or not a sidebar, or where I wanted things placed. So it's really not I have a mobile first and so it's better than type of thing. It's just more of an individual philosophy on how you choose to design it.
Okay, thanks.
I don't know if that was helpful or made it even wittier.
That was very good. That helped.
One of the things I started, or I took a rip on the Genesis sample theme and converted it to very basic Sass, and then also added in the mobile-first stylings. And one of the things I ran into, I mean, it wasn't a problem. It's just like you're saying, Brian, it's a different way of looking at it. And I've always loved the organization of Genesis style sheets, and the table of contents. They're very nice, clean, logical, all that. And when you're going mobile first, you're basically taking everything that was in those media queries originally, and that's now your default. And then where your media queries are really where you get into the guts of specifying your widths and all that. So long story short, it was weird like let's say I want to change some behavior for my footer widgets, the width of them or such. Now instead of going to the the footer widget section of my table of contents, I'm looking through my media queries to fix that. So organizationally, I'm still kind of trying to wrap my head around that. I don't know if that makes sense, or I may be flipping.
Does to me.
Hey, John, welcome aboard.
How you guys doing?
All right, I like your glasses there.
There you go.
Thanks. I got them at Ross.
What's on your mind?
Hey guys, I just had a quick question. Sorry about being too ugly for your hangout here, but thanks for having me on anyways. Brian, I know your stuff has been a big part of what we do here at our company, and we really appreciate what you do and the work you've done. But some of the older themes that we've come to love, do you have any? My question is, do you have any plans to update them? Make them, as like the menus responsive as you have on the newer ones. I know you've turned some of the older themes into some pro themes and things like that. But are there any plans for some of those other ones to get updated at any time?
So, answering your question directly and authentically in the spirit of that, if it hasn't been moved over to a pro version yet, more than likely, if it's left over, it won't be. We were very intentional when we went through pro themes, and obviously started at the top of our sales list and moved down all the popular themes. And so the ones that are left over are now kind of there and available, and will retire as we come out with new themes, completely new themes. The pro themes that were released that did not have our new methodology for responsive menus have been kind of backward updated, and so I don't know if they're all updated yet. So if it didn't come shipped with it when it was released, there's a chance Jen and Lauren have done a good job of kind of going backwards and updating them so that if they're bought now, they will. I don't know if that answers your question, but there's a few themes out there that they just don't sell, and there's no real reason to make them HTML5 and responsive, and so we're just going to kind of cut bait on those.
Cool.
All right. Well, John, you are welcome to stick around. Jackie, you're welcome to stick around. I'm just going to mute you and then unmute yourself if you have any questions you'd like to hop in with here.
I do. I want to say something. Okay.
Go for it.
All right. I just want to ask Brian, how cool is it to see Genesis on lynda.com? Because I've been looking for it forever, and it's just really cool that Carrie has done 2 courses on Lynda, and it's just great. Just wondering what you think.
I am a huge fan and advocate of any community member doing anything that helps the Genesis community. Obviously, we all have a crush on Carrie, and we all think her work is great, and it's great that she gets the distribution and can ultimately build her own brand and exposure by way of that. So I think it's awesome. It's funny that things like that, or just other types of tutorials or ideas and services, everyone kind of seems to look at us to say, are you going to do this? And my response lately has been, no, we're not, but it's a great opportunity for someone in the community to do it, to build a business around it, to do it for their own brand, because that's what it's all about. It's an entire ecosystem, and it's not our responsibility to provide every possibility of any kind of anything with Genesis. We're doing what we're doing, and if there's a hole, instead of yelling at us, take that as an opportunity to do something first for a niche or whatever.
Cool. I did not pay Jackie to say those nice things, Brian, just so we're clear. While we're talking about gaps in the community and an opportunity for someone to step in and make some money, there's one that's been on my mind, and I'm not the right person to fill that gap, but the topic of tweaks, Genesis tweaks. So I just need to move the navigation. I need to do something simple. I have a feeling it's a quick fix, but I don't know how to do it myself. I don't really want to go pay a developer, $500 to do this for me. So that niche of quick hit Genesis tweaks. And there's a fellow named Justin Twerdy in the Genesis community that had that website. He still has it. But I know that he's hit capacity on that with other things going on in his life, and I don't know how active that is. But all the time I get emails asking me, hey, I need a little help with this, I need a little help with that. And I refer them out where I can, but that's not really, I prefer more complete projects as opposed to little quick hits like that. So that's definitely, just mentioning it. If anybody wants to take the bull by the horns, if you can find a way to to get costs down to a reasonable level and provide that service for clients, I think you could have business all day long.
I would agree.
Before we get back to a couple of questions, I did want to, I teased you at the top of the hour, and this has been the podcast of Unveiling, but our sponsor, WPSiteCare.com, has a special offer just for Genesis Office Hours users, and that is a free month of any of their monthly service plans. So if you go to WPSiteCare.com and use the code GOH, you can see firsthand how awesome that team is, and tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. So some good questions coming in on Twitter. One from Lisa and Brian. This kind of goes back the partner question that Aaron had about themes, uploading themes on New Rainmaker. What about plugins? Do they kind of fall in the same boat?
So no, plugins do not. Creatively make that part of a custom theme would be my suggestion, and still understand that for whatever reason our team may say that's still not cool. Not cool, but just isn't whatever. Rainmaker is really a platform designed for a specific thing. It's not a new toy for a dev to go off and be able to offer his services and try to slap in his own suite of things. It's funny, Brian Clark, as much as we're a marketing company, he has no problem in telling people Rainmaker is not for you. If you want that type of thing, sign up for Synthesis, our hosting, and add it with all the dev that you want. Add your own plugins, kind of do whatever you want. But again, the gist behind Rainmaker is really just a controlled environment without the need for babysitting clients and sites, and because we can't open that up to just plugins are really territory where there could be problems from a code standpoint, from a security standpoint, and so from that perspective we just really need to be protective of our brand and our product and our platform, and just kind of draw lines at some point.
Totally, and I like being able to say, or I like that you do say, hey, this product is not for you, because that kind of focus, you can't be everything to everybody, so yep. I appreciate that focus. Diane wants to know if you've considered "Orange is the New Black" as potential slogan.
Orange, is that in reference to the color on my site, or is that just?
That's what I don't know. Diane, you can hop on here and clarify. If you're seeing orange on your monitor, it might be time for a calibration. It seems like it's a little bit more in the pinky red family.
It is salmon. I don't even know what it is, but what I will tell you is this: is I'm authentic, and the guys at Focus Lab had a hex code that I loved, and so I copied it and then moved my dropper a little bit just so that they could be different. And I landed on something slightly different from what they had. FocusLabLLC.com, by the way, is their website, and they're brilliant. Absolutely, every single person in that company is brilliant. And I'm nothing but thrilled with the work that they did with me. But that's actually where the color came from. I'm typically not this kind of color by nature. I thought about Starbucks green. I've been dabbling in red. I'm not a huge blue guy, but this color just worked. I loved how it looked on their site. I put it to mine, tweaked the hex code a little bit. I don't know what it's called. I don't know if that's pink or peach or salmon or orange, but it is what it is.
All right. Another question here, just kind of what's coming down the pipeline, and we've talked about this in the past, but it's always a curiosity. But for those of us who are building our businesses off of using Genesis as a tool and a platform, like what's the future? What's coming down the pipe?
I realize that there's always going to be evolution of stuff because the web will always be changing. It's not changing every week, which means we don't have to come out with a point release every month. Genesis itself is an extremely stable platform. So at this point, it's really more about developers who are working on top of it, extending it and just, following kind of the design trends and designing accordingly on top of it. There's nothing groundbreaking. The whole 2.0 HTML5 thing was a pretty significant, excuse me, a pretty significant step for us. But outside of that, it's not going to just, all of a sudden be like a totally, wow, here's something new, because there's not much at this point that we're going to do with it or put into it as a core. Now, certain functionalities like maybe portfolio type things, may those come out either by us or community members as a plugin to go on top of it? Yes, because we don't want to bloat the framework. We don't want to just keep adding to it. So there's things like that. The only thing I can think of, and this isn't within the next couple of weeks or months, is at some point we may consider dropping the XHTML markup support. It's still probably on a lot of sites, and so there would have to be a significant messaging system along the way, because at some point, it'll be the, drop support for IE thing, but in this case, it would be, drop the HTML markup and go exclusively HTML5, because there's a lot of conditional logic right now inside the framework, and it would help thin it out a bit. We don't want to do anything that's going to hurt our customers. So it's a battle we're not working on right now, but that, if anything, would be maybe like the next sort of kind of maybe interesting thing that comes out of it from the framework standpoint.
All right. Fresh guest on with us. We've got Jesse Peterson. How are you, Jesse?
Hey, Brian.
Hey.
I had a question for you, not related to actually Genesis, but more about what you do day to day, because I've noticed you seem to be endlessly available and get a whole lot of stuff done. And so, since a lot of us are solopreneurs, I was just wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about how your day goes. You exercise, you do the half marathons, you got a kid.
Mm-hmm.
How do you arrange your day and still attend to us as a community who watch you constantly?
So I'll very quickly go through a typical day now that school's back in session. I usually wake up at 6, clear out email, get a few things done, maybe start writing a blog post if I have one, eat breakfast, get everybody out the door by 7:30. If on days that I do run, I usually do it then, so that I can get it out of the way, back and showered by the time kind of most people are then online. And so, I'll be around in the morning, usually 9 to 11:30 noon, go downstairs and grab a quick bite to eat. Since I don't take an hour off for lunch, I just come right back up, spend the afternoon maybe doing some Skype calls, and then, 3, 4 o'clock roll around. Zach comes home, we'll play, we'll hang out, we'll go to soccer practices or baseball practices. And because, our stuff is mobile, I'll bring my laptop sometimes, connect through my iPhone to get some internet. And so, 6 o'clock in the evening, I could be online just knocking things out while he's at practice. So it's kind of a good thing I get to be there for that. But because there's nothing I can do while I'm there, I might as well just get some work stuff done, come home, watch some TV. Shelly usually goes to sleep 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I'm a night person, so I'll go back online. So to answer your question and how I do it, there's kind of two things. I'm online a lot throughout the day, usually in hour to 2 hour chunks, just here and there. But more importantly, as we've grown as a company, I've been able to, and all of the partners have kind of been able to kind of step back a little bit in more of a managerial role. And we've got a tremendous mid-level management team that sits underneath us, and they do a lot of the hard work that we used to do. And so from a day-to-day standpoint, we don't do less, we just do less of the actual work, but we do a lot of managing, which is phone calls and things like that. So so that's kind of in a nutshell. I'm online a lot. I'm still accessible to the family because I'm home all day, and and interacting with people, for me at least, is significantly important for a number of reasons. One, I get to kind of hear feedback. Two, I love people and stories and how they use our products. So I just make time for that because it matters to me.
Thanks. Yeah, I was interested. Sometimes I'm online a little too much when I'm away from my desk, and I wasn't sure if you were using your phone and stuck to your phone, or if you had a computer. So that helped.
Yep. I see Carrie, if you don't mind, real quick, Carol had a question that she asked on Twitter. Any plans to release membership functionality in Rainmaker as a standalone Genesis plugin? That's a wait and see. The jury's out. Right now, our focus is Rainmaker, and much the same with the Simple Share plugins. It's possible that we may then turn around and give that back. I don't know. I don't want to say anything that's specifically one way or the other. But just know that in most cases we take our customers and they matter to us, and we want to give them products that they can use. So we'll see how that turns out.
All right. We've got a lot of great questions here, so thank you everybody that's dropping those into Twitter. One question from Mr. Rosenbaum, and I'm sorry, I will just butcher your name because I'm from Texas, but a question about adding RTL support, which is right to left, for child themes, and any plans for like maybe the Genesis sample theme to include that support?
Yeah, now that it's relatively stable, I did omit, not intentionally, but when asked the question, is there anything big coming with Genesis, one of the things we kind of decided internally, because there's going to be such few updates kind of throughout the year on Genesis, the framework, we've kind of decided to extract the default design out of the framework and put that just simply into the default, or the sample child theme. That's how it is now. Right now, they're both the same, and so the next version of Genesis, which I believe is 2.2, unless there's a need for another update, I may go in and minimalist design the Genesis default, like out of the box. Like if you just literally activate Genesis, the framework, it may be just a completely stripped down version of text on white, and then that way we can kind of separate the two and keep the sample child theme updated on a more frequent basis. That was a suggestion, and definitely something I know Gary Jones is an advocate of, and so we can do things like that right to left thing, or it can the sample child theme can soon have the new responsive menu and things without waiting necessarily for the update of the framework. So right to left and accessibility are kind of two things that are on our radar kind of moving forward. So to answer that question specifically, yes, that's kind of one of the things we plan on kind of attacking.
Cool. And if you've never implemented right to left in a theme, just for you guys who are listening, it's actually extremely simple to do. It's there's a line of code that you put into your header, and then it's basically reversing the CSS for a language that reads right to left instead of left to right. So on a left to right, if you've got a right margin of 40%, then on RTL you'd have a left margin of 40%. Is basically the idea there. Let's see. I've lost some questions. Elizabeth wants to know what plugins are trying to keep plugins to a minimum. Do you have any that you think are just kind of absolutely necessary, or?
I could have answered that question a week or 3 weeks ago prior to going on Rainmaker. Now that I'm on Rainmaker, I use the tools we have in there. Previous to that, I'm not a huge plugin guy. I've become a very lightweight, simple, minimalist type of person, and so I really craft my content and my strategy around that, just around the whole simple big concept. Nuking sidebars, doing things like that. I realize, for other people that they have a need for them. I didn't at the time. So from a lightweight standpoint, I'm trying to remember what I would even activate on my site. Even let me go into unfiltered real quick and just remind myself of what's in there. But your typical things like hang on.
Genesis style Trump, of course.
No, I customize my own stuff. I don't need that plugin.
I hear it's a piece of dump.
Yeah, so obviously a forms plugin like Ninja Forms obviously would be activated on my site. Akismet, anti-spam, Google Sitemaps. At one point I had Jetpack enabled more than anything for the WordPress.com stats element of it, rather than the sharing, because we obviously have the Genesis Simple Share plugin. Other than that, W3 Total Cache, that's pretty much all I used. I wouldn't, I realize some people have like 100 plugins, and I'm like, what do you possibly, you're doing something wrong if you have 100 plugins. Let's put it that way.
Do you need a caching plugin if you're running on Synthesis, or is that kind of their required caching?
Yeah, it is. Synthesis was totally designed, as is Rainmaker, to have caching system built in, and it works fast, and was built by our team, tested across multiple environments, and so from that perspective, no, you do not. It's already baked into the system.
Cool. All right. Well, if I've missed your question on Twitter, feel free to ask it again, because there's so much awesome conversation going on that it's too far down on the screen. I picked up a new monitor yesterday, but it's only really wide. It's not like stories high. That would be cool though. So, Jesse, you have any burning thoughts over there, or are you just chilling like Superman?
Just chilling. I got 10 minutes for my next call, so I'll see if there's anything I can help with.
All right. Let's see. We've got lots of folks downloading Genesis Simple Share. Do you have any idea, Brian, or account happening on?
I do not. I know that 45 people are actively on my website, but other than that, I don't know what they're doing.
Cool. Well, I guess we'll find out after the fact. So we got a question from Jackie, and it's a theoretical question. If you were going to reinvent WordPress today, would you do anything differently? You can take that question in any direction you want to.
I don't need to. I have Rainmaker. Rainmaker kind of actually, believe it or not, does what I would do with it, which is organize things a little bit different, remove things that I don't need, and yeah, you know, it's kind of a loaded question now because WordPress kind of does everything in a way. I don't have any beefs with how it was built or what it does or doesn't do, and you know, some people argue for and against things like post formats and all of those types of things that have been added to kind of help make WordPress more than just a blogging platform. You know, I've always loved it and have been happy with it. I don't necessarily think I would do anything different with it. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how I'd answer that question either. I love it. I love that I'm not the one having to plan out future versions. The awesome just kind of keeps rolling out and lets me do my work. Had a good question from Chris, and he was wanting to know, is the Genesis Simple Shares plugin, does it actually rely on the Genesis framework in any way, or could you use it on anything?
Chris, I actually answered already on Twitter. So it's safe to say that any plugin we create that says Genesis anything means that it works with Genesis and is not necessarily theme agnostic at that point. It hooks into Genesis hooks in terms of placement of the output of the buttons, because you can have them in two places or either or both. So it relies on those hooks. And so right now it's a Genesis only thing, and we'll see what happens.
All right. The vendor wants to know what the initial response has been to new Rainmaker, and I would also piggyback on that question. How long is your beta period?
It took 54 minutes for you to ask that question. I had a feeling that was coming. The response has been great. As we do with a lot of our things at Copyblogger, we have pilot programs where we offer our product at a lesser price than what it'll ultimately be, in kind of the agreement that whoever's signing up realizes that they're part of our beta testing program. We've had a significant amount of positive feedback and suggestions. All of our support team, or development team, is busy, working on it. Ron Rennick, Nick Croft, Nathan Rice, Chris Garrett's even doing some stuff. We've got a whole team overseeing it, and so it's evolving daily. And in terms of the pilot program, it looks like mid to late September is when we'll officially push it out. And at this point, I've been on it for 3 weeks now, And while there are some things that I've suggested that we do slightly differently, it's working, and it's working really, really well. And there's some reviews out there already. Chris Brogan had recently published one. Rebecca Gill at Web Savvy Marketing also, and I know Chris Lemma has also written up a review on it. So if you go out there and Google their name and type Rainmaker review, you can go off and see what they've had to say about it. So I personally believe, not just because I'm a partner in the company, but it's honestly made my life easier in accomplishing the things I want to do with my own site. So there's thousands of other people who I think it's a great fit for, and we'll see what happens.
Cool. I'm looking forward to it being open to the public, because I want to get in there and play. Question from Brad Potter, who's running late to the party, but we're glad you joined us. He wants to know if there are any plans for the customizer in Genesis. We haven't really talked about that too much.
Brad's one of my favorite Genesis people. He's always tweaking and playing, and I wish one day he would just create a shop called bradsgenesisshop.com and start selling all the awesome stuff he builds. So the customizer, we have to see what happens when WordPress 4.0 comes out, because I know that it's a relatively new-ish feature within WordPress, and so while it's evolving, we're kind of taking a little bit of a wait-and-see approach. Will themes specifically have, from a StudioPress developed standpoint, will themes have some minor customizer integrations? Yes, we've slowly moved some of the Genesis theme settings into that as kind of a secondary way to turn on and turn off things as a way of getting our feet wet. Brad, to answer you specifically, we are not going to be doing anything official to the extent that you are, but like I said earlier, that's a great opportunity for someone to kind of embrace a piece of the integration that WordPress and Genesis could have together, and say, hey, I've got this awesome theme. You can use it's fully linked into the customizer, and use that as your marketing feature. And you won't have to worry about us competing from that standpoint. So that is a very, very subtle hint to you, Brad, that there's an opportunity there. And I hope that answered your question.
There it is. Brad, get on the stick to get bradsawesome.genesisstuff.com and start selling.
I'm going to go squat that domain.
He can just get the .org or the .me. Yeah, I've tried to get Brad on the show, but I don't know. He's always on vacation or in a corner making a theme or something.
He's out fishing in Alaska. I'd love to live Brad's life for a summer, just to go up there and just totally be disconnected. That would be awesome.
There you go. Brad, Brian is trolling for an invite. See if you can make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Just kidding. Okay, well, we're coming up on the top of the hour, so we'll do get a question in if you have it. I did want to remind folks that we've got the Genesis Office Hours Book Club Edition. Our first powwow is going to be in 2 weeks with Chris Lemma, and the book we're reading is called The Price is Right. I'll have a link to that in the show notes, or you can just go to chrislemma.com/books and you'll find it there. We'll have a fun discussion about that. And also, if you want to download the Genesis Simple Shares plugin, go to briangardner.com. And Brian, do they have to register to get the free goodies?
Yes, of course. In the upper right-hand corner is a Get Free Content. Scroll a little bit further down. There's a link that says click here to register. And from there, you can register once and then get access to a page that, if you go, for users who have already registered for the free theme that I gave out a few days ago, go back to your Get Free Content page. You will now see the Genesis Simple Share plugin is already in there. So register once, get access to awesomeness for the foreseeable future. So
awesome. And then now that you have my email address, you can send me dancing baby gifts if you want. We've got another couple of wrap-up questions here. Are you planning Rainmaker only themes, or will all those themes eventually be available on studiopress.com?
So as it stands now, the process is a new theme gets pushed out onto Rainmaker, and we want our folks there to have access to that first. And So when you see them available on Rainmaker, there's a pretty good bet that, down the road, a few weeks or a month or so, it'll become a StudioPress theme. So if you see it released on StudioPress at this point, you can rest assured that it's already been on Rainmaker, as that's kind of the priority system for our theme. So as far as I know right now, everything is available on both. In the sense of if it's going to be on one, it's going to be on the other. There may be a few things here or there that we kind of hold a little bit longer, or see how it works first on one and then go to the other, and so on.
All right. We'll take this one last question from Lisa, and she wants to know on Rainmaker, can you add custom CSS for landing pages?
There is a custom CSS feature within Rainmaker, and what that does is it adds it to your theme in the same way. I think WordPress.com has something similar where you can, put your theme, make a few tweaks via custom CSS rather than actually have to create a new child theme or a custom theme. So yes, there is that capability.
All right, and I said that was going to be the last question, but I lied because one more just came through that I really like. Ben wants to know, what's the best piece of advice you have for starting a new theme, whether it's for a specific project or general topic?
The best piece of advice. Really what it comes down to, and I do this with everything, is every theme that is been made by me has always started from the Genesis sample theme. I don't ever write anything straight up from scratch. I always take the sample child theme and then start designing on the fly and accordingly. So, if you know that style sheet in and out, and you either know or know where to find the basic types of things that you would use when building a theme, primarily things like code snippets and removing and adding and kind of customizing stuff like that. That's really 90% of what you need at that point. And anything past that, you can either Google or you can just use the Genesis hashtag and say, how do I do this? And within 30 minutes, Sridhar should have a tutorial for you. And I saw it happen yesterday in Facebook. Somebody asked a question about removing all of the content on a search page other than the titles, and no doubt 30 minutes later he had a tutorial written. So it's a win-win, believe it or not. You're not a pain to ask the question because you benefit him because he has something to write and share and drive his traffic, and he gives you what you're looking for, and it's a brilliant situation.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, we're gonna wrap up here, and Brian, I appreciate your time and sharing your awesomeness, and as you know, you were welcome here absolutely anytime. And thanks to everyone who, to the few people that hopped on, to those brave souls, and also to those of you that participated in Twitter. If you're catching this after the fact on either iTunes or SoundCloud, be sure and leave a little loving review. And then, in case you missed it earlier, you can get a free month of services from wpsitecare.com using the coupon code GOH. So with that, Brian, what are we going to see? What are we going to see next from BrianGardner.com?
See, that's a great question to ask because I was just literally looking at Jan's tweet, which feels like B. Gardner has more energy than ever. That couldn't be any further from the truth. Right now I'm completely rejuvenated. There's a Seinfeld episode where I don't know if you guys are fans, but George, I'll link to it maybe in Twitter. But George's dad has this big long back and forth with his wife, and he says, "I'm back, baby," and that's exactly how I feel. I'm completely rejuvenated. I've never been as excited about what we're doing as a company and what I'm doing with my own personal site. And so every day I add either code snippets or a new tutorial or post. And so as I continue to build out and do different things, either with Genesis or Rainmaker, I plan on writing about it. And so that's all there is just check back daily, and I encourage everyone to sign up, if not for the free content, to get emails about just things that I write, tutorials and whatever. So so I'm thrilled. I couldn't be any happier right now.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks, Brian. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you next week.
Sounds good.
Bye.